Who is liable if an employee gets injured while working remotely? Working at home due to the pandemic has raised liability questions, and with COVID-19 cases surging worldwide, it looks like it's here to stay. The St. Lucia Employers Federation is in talks with the International Labour Organization on guidelines to incorporate a remote work policy in the Labour Act.
What happens if somebody gets injured while at work? So it's during working hours, but they're working at home, they're not in your office. Who is liable? We need to clarify those things to ensure that we do not create another set of issues for our employers going down the line. Having said that, remote working is something that is highly encouraged. It is something that we cannot avoid because going forward, we can expect to see a lot more of that.
Many have lost their livelihoods, particularly in the hospitality sector, while others are forced to live below the poverty line because of the fallout from the pandemic. Executive Director Goretti Paul also disclosed that the Employers Federation is also in discussion on the introduction of an unemployment fund to prepare for unforeseen crises.
The experience that we have now is a very good learning experience. And we have a responsibility to start the conversation around how we're going to be better prepared should something similar happen later down the line. So these conversations will continue to take place. We've already engaged the ILO to assist us with information on other funds that already exist in other parts of the world that we can learn from. So we take the best practices, see what can apply in our current environment, and take our recommendations to the government for consideration, but it would require support from the various stakeholders to make it happen.
The World Bank reports that the COVID-19 pandemic is estimated to push an additional 88 to 115 million people into extreme poverty in 2020, with the total rising to as many as 150 million by 2021, depending on the severity of the economic contraction. Prime Minister Alan Chastanet has opined that an economic shutdown is not an option for St. Lucia. Paul says this will further devastate businesses and livelihoods.
Shutting down a country is not the ideal situation because it puts a large proportion of our people at a complete disadvantage. And so as much as possible, we have a responsibility to avoid that from happening, which is why it's important that all parties work together and play their role individually to help St. Lucia as a country get out of this current dynamic that we're in. But, we will continue to encourage our members as much as possible to do what they can to support the national initiative because it's for all of our benefits.
Employers across the globe are now grappling with numerous questions as to their approach to working from home. In addition to one of the most common queries, who will foot the bill for making the environment conducive for working from home and what to do in sectors where working from home is not an option, the Employers Federation implores industries where working remotely is not possible to follow health and safety guidelines to reduce transmission of COVID-19. Colby DeVoe, HTS News4orce.